The Irrational Confidence Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking college football, and week 11 is in the book. We have had maybe the craziest college football season of all time. I'm joined by my co-host, the man that we talked about being legendary. This season's been legendary. Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
Haps, wild weekend from Happy Valley / not so Happy Valley to upsets in the ACC to Lubbock to basically putting the last nail in the coffin for Missouri's residency in Fraudville. Florida getting boat rate. Florida's currently owned by Mark Stoops. Just chaos across the board. And the games, we still have 3 weeks left in the regular season.
3 weeks.
Championship weekend. There's a lot more chaos coming, folks. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, that's the hard part. I go, there's still 2 weeks before Rivalry week, which is absolutely loaded and is going to have huge playoff implications. I just keep thinking next week is loaded. Fresh. We looked at week 12 and we circled that as like a big time weekend. Week 13 is kind of like the calm before the storm, but it seems like the calm before the storm weekends are going to be the ones that all sorts of hell breaks loose, and we just go, what in the world are we watching?
We're going to call it either trap week or overlook Saturday or something, because, you're going to have that bridge gap. Like, I have Rivalry week coming up next week. I'm so close to the end. And then you trip and fall. You're on that last stretch of the marathon. You're running down, like, I see the finish line, and then boom, you face plant. And that's where we're in the point right now with the playoff as it is. Points, unless you're a fringe playoff contender, points don't mean anything. Just win the game. And that's what Indiana proved. And I think we can start right there in that game, where I'm actually more impressed now by Indiana than I was after they beat Oregon, because that team showed moxie late. Mendoza made big throws. They had obviously the great catch. And you got to give credit to the referee. As much as we bashed the refs for bad plays, he nailed that one. That was actually an NFL touchdown, because the right foot and the left foot got down the back line. But the way they were able to hold through, they fought through on the road in I'm not going to say a hostile environment, because a lot of Penn State fans probably thrown in the towel, but you go into a large environment and you got the job done. Now you're starting to taste those. Everybody actually wants Indiana to lose. And how quickly that flipped, where it's like, oh, it's a cute story. Now it's like, no, I want you to lose. And everybody tunes in to see you being upset, as opposed to being the underdog trying to pull off the upset. You held through, you took a deep breath, you looked it in the eye, you didn't blink, you won. That was probably the best thing that can happen for Kurt Sundetti and the entire Hoosier program. They got tested late. Just really see, are they going to respond in the fourth quarter? They have to obviously show some run defense issues with Singleton running all over them, but they made plays when they had to, and I'm much more impressed with Indiana now than I have been in the past.
I've been pretty impressed with Indiana all year long, but I think you make a great point, because now Indiana is at the stage where no matter who they're playing, that is going to be that team's Super Bowl. Okay. And that is true with a lot of the top tier programs in the conference. Again, doesn't matter if you're in the Big Ten, in the SEC, in the Big 12, and Texas Tech is kind of in this too, but we'll get to Texas Tech here in a few minutes and what they did in Lubbock. But Penn State, while they haven't had the results that they want, I think come April, we're still going to see kids from that program get drafted into the NFL. There's still talented football kids on there. And the fact is that Penn State kind of hung around, and Indiana wasn't able to turn Happy Valley into a ghost town and have like 80,000 people who were 80 to 90,000 people. They didn't sell out that place, but 80 or 90,000 people still there, hanging on, thinking that they're going to see this huge upset. Cooper's catch might be one of the best catches I've seen in a long, long time. It's a heck of a throw by Mendoza. The one concerning thing I have with Indiana was the amount of pressure their offensive line let up on that last drive there. They wound up getting 3 sacks. Mendoza felt like he was starting to hurry everything up. And I was a little bit going, okay, again, I think Indiana is impressive, because 1 week ago I talked about how they're pushing Maryland's defensive line 4 or 5 yards down the field on the run game. And then all of a sudden, they're giving up this pressure. Is it a telltale sign of the pass rush? Is there something Jim Knowles and Penn State did that confused Indiana? What exactly was it? It's something I'm going to watch. I don't necessarily think I'm concerned at this point. But again, amazing job out of the Hoosiers. This was a huge, big-time win for Indiana. And I believe that Indiana, as long as they get to the Big Ten title game without a loss, I think they are a lock for a top 4 seed.
Yeah, I mean, they're a lock right now, in my opinion. They're going to be in the Big Ten title game already. They're going to it's either get the 1 seed, or again, the home team, the designated home team, or the road team. Top 4 seed, if they're undefeated going into that game, regardless of the result, they're locked in because this team has shown they can handle it. I mean, the rest of the schedule isn't the 3 teams they play. They're terrible per record. You just got to go out there and just nameless face the opponent, gets a W, and keep moving on.
Right. The only one that concerns me is I think Washington's. Oh, well, no, that's Oregon who's playing Washington last week of the season. So never mind on that one. All right, Fresh. Let's go to Lubbock, Texas, because this was a big one. And I will admit, I got a good amount of flack in the comment section. Make sure you guys are following along into the channel here, because this is what we want from you guys. We want you to engage. If we say something that we believe in, but you think you have a different opinion on us, again, come at us the right way. We'll engage with you. We enjoy talking sports. That's why we do this here. I got a lot of flack of having BYU in my top 4. Now, the committee and I didn't see eye to eye. Again, I have my reasons for my rankings. Undefeated in Power 4. I felt that should give you up to a top 4 ranking. I actually did not have Texas Tech in my first set of rankings. I will tell you here in a little bit. We'll get to my rankings shortly. Texas Tech, biggest mover for me. I am going back and kicking myself after seeing what that Texas Tech defense did. I know everyone wants to talk about the offense, how they throw the ball over the field, and I'm a little concerned about how beat up Morton is there. But Texas Tech's defense, real quick here, Fresh. BYU, 3 for 14 on third down, 255 total yards of offense, 67 rush yards when they got LJ Martin back, and 3 turnovers on the day. Texas Tech won a very, very tough game against a very good BYU team. I still, again, don't think that this makes BYU frauds yet or anything like that. They got to lose multiple games. One loss doesn't do it for me. But I will say this, Texas Tech really proved something, and I had them as the biggest winner of the weekend. They're making a huge jump in my top 12.
They showed everything they needed to show. They battled through. They're in a good spot now. The rest of the schedule is pretty straightforward. You're almost a lock for the Big 12 title game. Again, it's like Indiana now. Nameless face opponent. Just show up and get the job done. Style points don't matter. If you win, you're going to be a conference champion. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to be a top 5 seed because, look, in all intents and purposes, we're probably going to have an Alabama A&M game. They're going to meet for the SEC championship game. If A&M wins, they're undefeated, or they could lose to Texas. You never know, but that's probably how that's going to play out. Mm-hmm. One of those is going to probably drop outside the top 5 just because the way the season's going to end up going down. Georgia, if they can maintain, they might be a top 5 team. Texas Tech's going to be a top 5 team. They're going to win their conference. You're going to get a home playoff game where you're going to be in a bowl. And honestly, I think people would love to have a home playoff game in Lubbock, Texas on either that Friday night or one of the triple headers on Saturday and really showcase the campus. That just, get the momentum, just like Ohio State did last year. Get the momentum going, just roll through. You get a 12 seed coming in. You get to go play the 4 seed if after that. It's just things start going your way. You start getting that game. And it's just onward and upward. You've proven now by beating BYU that you've canceled the doubt. You stopped Utah. You handled BYU impressively. Just go out there and just play through, and you'll be just fine.
Right. And it's funny because I was listening to Sirius XM, and I got to steal this from somebody. This guy was calling in, and they were asking about people who are at the BYU Texas Tech game. And the guy calls in and says, how would you describe it? And he said, rednecks with paychecks, baby. And that's what the crowd was like, rednecks with paychecks. I was like, that is fantastic.
Man. Watch the show, Landman. It's all just oil money. It's West Texas oil money. That's all it is.
Right.
And they want to win. And they are going to do whatever they got to do to win.
I wish I could take credit for that because that's a great team. But again, Texas Tech, amazing job out of them. I think, I feel like the same way about them in Indiana is if they go into the Big 12 title game, regardless of what happens, they're a lock in there as well. As for BYU, Fresh, again, people are going to be like, see, this proves that BYU is not a good program. I go, hold the horses here. BYU could be a good program. Texas Tech could be a great program. And this could be like, I just ran into a buzzsaw. Doesn't mean that I'm a bad program just because I got beat up by Texas Tech. Again, if BYU continues this trend, doesn't pull themselves off the mat and wind up, let's say, I think they got TCU next weekend. I believe it's TCU.
Yeah. It's TCU, and I think they have They're down the stretch. It was a lot more difficult than Texas Tech was. That's why Texas Tech could not afford a loss.
Yeah,
BYU
and
can
they
make
got
it up with
Cincinnati.
a couple of wins. Yeah, they have Cincinnati coming up in 2 weeks. BYU has a chance to make up some of the losses and really make a statement, get themselves back in 11-1, maybe even get a rematch in the Big 12 title game. You never know.
Right. And I think if that's what we're going to know on BYU, if they go over next weekend, I don't know if I think it's in Fort Worth. If they throw a haymaker to TCU next weekend, we'll know who BYU is. If they go in there and drop a major egg, guess what? Now we can talk about BYU being a legit fraud. I did not remove them from my top 12.
I mean, last year they got that first loss, but they kind of stumbled, and it all sort of spread from there. So I think that's where it also comes in. Last year we saw they collapse. Well, this year will they show a different team and actually be able to reset and then get back on course immediately.
All right, Fresh. Let's go to a place like where they're actual frauds. I know we punched their ticket back to Fraudville. We thought they were out, but they're back in. Texas A&M just going in and putting the boots to Missouri. Now, there's a few little frauds, or I shouldn't say little frauds, but little, I don't know, in the Texas A&M armor. The only thing that concerned me is their opponent's record going into this game. They're the only top 4 team with a losing record for their opponents. Like everyone else was up near the 58, 59% win percentage. I think both Georgia and Ohio State were over the 60% threshold. Alabama, IU were both in the upper 50s when you play your opponents. And then there's Texas A&M with a sub 500 record with their opponents. I want to believe in Texas A&M. I really want to believe in them. But I also kind of am curious, and I don't ever know if we're going to see what this A&M team truly is. Are they elite or are they really, really good, great? Like in that, what realm, like we're in that top end? Because now at this point, we're splitting hairs. No one is saying that they're below it. I would never call them below a top 16. They are not dropping below the top 6. I know how good Alabama is. I know how good Georgia is. I know how good Ohio State is. I know how good Indiana is. I know how good Texas Tech is. I just can't bring myself to say it with A&M with confidence.
Well, and with them, we're not going to, Missouri obviously have their quarterback out there, but we knew there was kind of a question mark with them, and they flopped. LSU being terrible this year really, I think, hurt that judgment point because A&M stomped them.
Right.
When they go to Austin in 3 weeks, and if they can handle that environment in that, last year they had them at home, everything on the plate, and they trembled. They have one chance to really make a true impression. Mm-hmm. It's the championship game or not. How do they play in Austin versus Texas? That's what we're going to know. Because if they go into Austin and lose to Texas, regardless of what happens this week in Athens for the Longhorns, that is going to be hanging with them when they head into Atlanta. And they are going to go in there, and Alabama is going to smoke them. They have to come in. They have to set the tone in that Texas game. Because if not, they're going to have doubts in their own locker room. They're going to have doubts across the nation. They're just like there's A&M all over again. They have a serious issue and serious problem with being an elite football team. They have to get over that mental block. They're doing what they have to do. They're playing the schedule. You can't control the schedule. They're playing the schedule as it is. The Notre Dame win by a point is huge.
It is. Because Notre Dame looks good.
But they have to maintain their focus and just show up week in and week out. You play the record as it is. You show up, you get it done. But that game in Texas is going to show up. This is a different A&M team, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how this A&M team is going to respond here, and we'll see how it really comes down to play with them. I just don't know. I'm just waiting. That Notre Dame game is huge, big win there. But again, that is what, week 3, week 2, week 3.
That was week 2, week 2 or week 3.
Yeah,
no, it was week 3 because Notre Dame played week and they had an off week at A&M, I think. So it was week 3. But even then, it was November. It was 2 months ago.
All right, Fresh. What are we here to make out with the group of 5? So there's a healthy debate, and I am going to throw you a question after we talk about this in a minute here. James Madison, we know about the Sun Belt. It's a rough conference, but they have the best record out of everybody. USF, Tulane, Memphis, or Texas, maybe.
Memphis is done.
Memphis is gone.
That's 2 conference loss. You're not going to be able to play for your conference championship. Most likely, you're out.
Without
Texas. North Texas, Navy. We have, Tulane Navy, I think, coming up this week. USF has shown that they are a good football team. They've already had the tiebreaker over North Texas. Then you also look outside the conference. Navy doesn't have a big outside of conference win. North Texas doesn't have a big outside of conference win. Good, better, and different. USF went into Florida and beat Florida. Tulane, good, better, and different, beat Duke and beat Northwestern.
Right.
Those are two
Both
power
good
four,
teams.
wins. So, both are going to be bowl teams. Like, you start to evaluate, they have that extra layer. If you just get yourself to the title game and you win, you're going to punch the ticket, because James Madison, as great as it's going to be, they need the American Conference champion to have 2 losses, maybe even 3, and it be North Texas or be Navy. Because if you come to a trump card, there's a better league that they're going to have survived. And if it's Tulane or it's USF, they have a Power 4 win on their record at least once, in addition to winning their own conference. So, like, that is something that James Madison can't claim. As great as the story is, you have to, the level of competition comes into play. If you're playing the American League, American Conference, the AAC it used to be, compared to the Sun Belt, is a significant difference. And that level of play, to be able to navigate that, congratulations. Unless you're undefeated, you're probably not going to surpass the American Conference unless they all have 4 losses. Right. Or at least 2.
Here's a wild question for you, Fresh. Is there a world that you could see the committee putting in 2 group of 5s? Now, wait, hear me out on this one. No, wait, just hear me out.
No. All right, keep going.
Okay. So it's the ACC would be the group that would be left out. Because what we're seeing right now is the ACC just completely cannibalizing themselves and eating each other up. And what if you wind up with, like, all right, you get because I know we talked about this, how there's like this log jam at the top. I get money at the same time too, but
you're going to get Notre Dame. You're going to have the group of 5. You're going to get 2 from the Big 12. You're going to get 1 from the ACC. What's that, 5?
Yep.
6? And you're going to get 7. You're going to probably get 7 from the Big 10 of the SEC. It's just the way it's going to happen. It's money is going to play out. They are not going to give 2 spots to 2 group of 5 teams. Unless both those teams even if they were undefeated, James Madison would probably be on the short end of it, because they would be
probably
one of them would be ranked lower. It's not built for those groups. That's why they are the position for 1. It's not built for them to be successful.
Yeah, it was just one of those things that people asked, like, would and the question wasn't mostly about like the group of 5. The question came out to being like, what happens if the ACC just the last 3 weeks just goes like absolute mayhem?
So they're going to get 1 team like they currently already have lined up. The story was different with Virginia and Louisville living, but now they both have lost. Unless Pitt runs the table and then Georgia Tech beats Georgia, you're probably only getting 1 team in.
Probably.
It's just the way that things are sort of set up now, and the way that Louisville losing to Cal and Virginia losing to Wake. I don't care. Wake's bowl eligible on the eye test. It's kind of like, well, they went to overtime a few times. They finally got bit. It is what it is. The committee is, and people are going to say, well, it's SEC and Big Ten bias. What did y'all think it was going to be when both conferences went to 16? This was inevitable. That's why Notre Dame's not going to a conference. They are basically setting themselves in to be in a playoff spot. Would we love to see a USF and a James Madison make it in a 16-team playoff? Probably they could do this. But in a 12, they are not, because last year, I'm trying to be as nice, but the committee got burned at the stake for some decisions. You do that, people are going to be coming after that group, because they're keeping their bigger Power 4 school conference commissioners are going to come after them. It's going to be a complete disaster.
Right.
They're going to side with the ratings comfort level over making an extreme controversial decision.
Yeah. It'd just be wild to see them like force feed us rating for some way if there's like a 3 or 4 loss conference ACC champ.
Now to be crazy, what if they expanded to 13-team playoff and had the top two group of 5s play to get the 12 seed?
I'd be all right with that.
Have like a play-in game the Saturday, Army Navy, like that night after it's over. The 2 of them play it in. Yeah, week to prepare. That would be interesting.
It'd make amazing ratings right now.
Well, that would go from one to the other, right from Army Navy to that, kick it off like 7:00. That would be intense. That's where I could see them maybe getting 2 in this tournament.
Fresh, before we get into the my college football playoff ballot here, Did you get a chance at all to watch the Oregon-Iowa game?
Reading a War and Peace novel would have been just as productive.
Right.
But hey,
I didn't
Oregon
realize
survived.
that both of them were
Oregon
top
survived.
5 defenses.
Oregon survived. They did what they had to do.
Iowa almost had them.
Valiant effort by the Hawkeyes, but in the end, they still, the offense isn't good enough to get the job done. And putting up 45 versus Minnesota is cute, but when games matter, the Iowa Hawkeyes will always show up.
Right. And that's the crazy thing with Iowa. Like, you look at their defense, and their defense is really, really good. That's a good defense. Their offense is just, it's so putrid.
It's funny. So I'll bring this point up because you have disdain for Missouri, and obviously I have disdain for Iowa. We both in our NFL fan bases hate the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe we just hate the colors yellow, black, and white.
Black and yellow.
Maybe we just hate black and yellow and white. Like, I think that's the only common denominator in all those scenarios.
I'm trying to think if I like any teams on the side. Like, I mean, I don't hate the Pittsburgh Penguins that much, but I don't follow hockey.
But from football standpoint,
I'm not a hockey fan. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I can't think of a fan base that I like. I mean, I don't mind Iowa. You hate Iowa. Cooper DeJean was still one of the funniest things that I'll ever bring up in the draft thing.
I mean, I like Brian Bulaga, but it's, as a football program, it's kind of like you guys are stuck in 1987. Hayden Fry might as well still be on the sidelines.
Was that the offensive lineman that signed the kid's Tiger when Gus Malzahn blew him off when we met him?
No, because Gus Malzahn was already in Bulaga was already in the NFL playing.
NFL. Because he was, I'm trying to remember.
Bulaga was at Iowa.
Yeah, but no, it was Auburn. I can't remember the Iowa lineman who it was that offered to sign the kid's Auburn Tiger. That's the real reason why I hate him.
We're gonna have to go down that rabbit hole and look up that year.
I will.
Iowa, Chinnick Stadium is always that place where, to bring up Auburn, there are certain stadiums in the country that are just, the team can be trash, and you're walking into a hellhole. Iowa is stadium itself. You come in there, the fan base is intense, especially at night. You go to Auburn, the fan base is intense at night. There are just certain places where the team, it doesn't matter how good the team is. Like Virginia Tech, the team can be terrible as they currently are, but you go into Lane Stadium at night, you're in for a battle. It's just the way that it sort of sets up where the team, they just play better in that environment. They feed off the energy. They play better than their ratings or their current skill level.
All right, Fresh. Let me give you my college football playoff rankings right now. Folks, I will make sure I give you my college football playoff rankings right here on the show. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. But if you're going to look for Fresh's, you got to go on to SpinnableSports.com. Check his stuff out there, SpinnableSports.com, because Fresh puts his out in print.
You'll be able to see every single week in writing, in writing all the way back.
Yeah. All right, Fresh, and again, a couple of things, folks. I do value a few things. Defeated in Power 4 conferences. And again, as Fresh led off our show, one of the big things to me, Iowa points at this stage of the game do not matter too much to me. I'm not going to harm you because you didn't blow out a team, or I'm not going to drop you down because you weren't that great against the team, or you were in a battle of a game. I am going to kind of keep you there. And then it's starting to become the body of work, everything else there. But again, I do value wins and losses as well. All right. My number 1, 2, and 3 did not change this week. I still have Ohio State at the number 1 pole position. The Indiana Hoosiers are my number 2, and Texas A&M number 3. Those are my top 3 teams, both undefeated Power 4 conference teams. They're not changing. Number 4, Alabama is number 4 for me. I'm moving them into the top 4. That week 1 loss looks like an aberration now, and definitely not who Alabama is. So Alabama jumps into my top 4. Again, I value the undefeated piece. I always think that we should make that a big deal if you win all games, because like we've talked before, can't control your schedule. They don't change it mid-year to change things up. All right. At 5 is when I got crazy. As much as I give BYU credit, I am jumping Texas Tech all the way up to number 5 right now. I think what I saw out of the Red Raiders this week, really, that's where the eye test came in and going, this team is ridiculous. And again, I can sometimes be a prisoner of the moment. I really debated Texas Tech at number 10, flip-flopping them with Notre Dame. I am flip-flopping Georgia and Oregon. I'm flip-flopping Georgia and Oregon. Georgia is going to I had Georgia at number 7 last week. I'm putting Georgia at number 6, and I'm moving Oregon to number 7. I think, again, you could tell me that Oregon deserves to be number 6 and Georgia deserves to be number 7. I'd be okay with that. I think Georgia is just a hair better than Oregon right now, even as good as I think that Oregon defense is. Ole Miss is number 8, and I almost dropped Ole Miss. I have no respect for you if you're playing the Citadel this late in the game. This is hot garbage.
What you just mentioned, it doesn't matter who they're playing. Just got to keep winning.
Yeah, it does. Okay, let me say this. It doesn't matter who you're playing as long as you're playing a FBS team. As long as you're playing FBS. You could have played Oregon State, Washington State. I would have been fine. Well, and they did earlier.
The rest of the season will play out. It won't matter. So
I know.
Just see how it goes.
Notre Dame is coming in at number 9 for me right now. I think Notre Dame is one of the hottest teams in the country. They just completely bludgeoned Navy in that game. BYU is number 10. I dropped them down. I had them in at number 4. I'm dropping them 6 spots down to number 10 right now. I can't discount based on one game what they did the rest of the season. Yes, they deserve to drop, but they're still got to be in that top 12 range. I have Georgia Tech benefiting the most out of this at number 11 because I still feel like I got to put an ACC team. As much as I don't want to do this, if we're not going to talk about leaving the ACC out, I feel like there has to be an ACC team in the top 12.
Well, I think that's going to be the case. My rankings, I'm still tinkering with them, but they're very, very close. I still think Georgia Tech's a very good football team.
Oh, I do too.
Now, if you look who they've beaten in their schedule so far, but again, you can't control the schedule. They haven't had that impressive win. So that's what people probably like. That loss, rings 10 times worse. But they have chances to really make it up and put themselves back in a great spot, especially if they play and win the ACC. There are a lot of things at play right now for Tech, and Haynes King and that offense, they can move. The defense plays. I think there is some chatter, though, about Brent Key going somewhere else. According to some Georgia insiders, apparently the Florida Learjet was in DeKalb County on Sunday, November 9th. That is today. It kind of makes you wonder, is he there for Brent Key? They're off to corner Buster Faulkner. I don't think he's going there for Dell McGee at Georgia State. But that's circulating. Where's the focus of the team? The pressure's now on Georgia Tech. Again, back to the other part of Indiana. It's not a cute story anymore. Oh, it's Georgia Tech. They're going to pull off the upset. They're the underdog. But no, now you're back to being the underdog in the ACC. Miami's not there. I mean, Duke is a great story. Pitt's a great story. Virginia's still fun. But you now have all the pressure. And now you actually have the banner of the entire conference being held by you. You've got to hold it all through, because if you lose, everyone's going to look at it like, well, the ACC is what it is. Clemson's way down. Florida State bottomed out pretty quickly. The other programs have all fumbled over themselves. And here you are, the banner man, holding the entire conference on your shoulders, and you collapse too. So there's a lot of pressure right now on Tech. They have a very good football team, but they have to find ways to just keep the blinders on and finish through. And I'll tell you right now, if they beat Georgia, absolutely amazing. That will adjust their spot and almost lock them into playoff. If they lose in a blowout, that puts them in a winner-in situation for the ACC. Right. If they lose in a tight game, that still keeps them in that at-large spot. So they are very involved. They have a very fluid, end here, but they're probably the only team in the ACC that has a very fluid situation with multiple opportunities to make the tournament. Pitt has to win her out. Duke has to win out. Virginia has to win out. Louisville would have to win out. Like, Georgia Tech is the only one with a buffer, but it doesn't mean that you can just stop playing football right now. Right. You have to finish through and keep playing great football that you played all year as you carry on in December.
I didn't put my group of 5 team in at 12 because I have no idea who it's going to be right now. I really don't. So these next 4 teams are my first 4 teams out. Okay. Because I think that a group 5 team is going to get in. These would be the ones looking in, the outside looking in. Outside of putting Texas above Oklahoma, I think you could put this in any order and I really wouldn't care. Texas, I have at 12. And again, that was hard for me to do. Oklahoma at 13. USC is at 14 for me. I'm moving the Trojans up because I think the Trojans are that team that's kind of like hanging around. And especially with Iowa coming to Los Angeles next weekend, I really think that this USC team can make a statement. They're not going to make it to Indianapolis, so I don't really have that benefit. But I have USC. I got Utah after USC because, the committee's telling me to do Utah, and I don't love Utah there. I got Miami and Vandy, 16 and 17. And at 18, I have the Wolverines.
It's Texas there at 12. They have the biggest pendulum. They have Georgia this upcoming week. Then in 2 weeks, they host A&M. If they win both those games, they already have 2 losses. If they win both those games, I put them at what?
They're in.
Yeah. If they win one of them, you have to have chaos to help you get in. But they have a chance to, or you're completely eliminated. But to speak like Georgia Tech, there is a wide variety of not just are they the 5th seed in the country if they beat Tech, A&M, and Georgia. Sarkisian, as bad as they've looked, Archer's played better. The defense has gotten a little better. Like, they have a chance to really become a power player and peak at the right time if things fall out. Or if they come out and get beat by the Dogs, and that's 3 losses, that probably puts them out. They have to beat Georgia to make the A&M game really matter. But they're going to be very involved in multiple ways, in multiple conversations to really shape this playoff field as we get down the road here at the end of the year.
What do you make of USC? It's a hard, right?
I'm still uneasy. I mean, I know it's Lincoln Riley. The defense has played better. They lost to Notre Dame, still is going to ring with me. They kind of like the up and down, like they're a roller coaster team. And I just, back in my mind, I know Lincoln Riley is basically a flashy James Franklin.
Yes.
Do I trust him? Do I trust him in big games? No. Can Maeva show up in big games? If USC had to go on the road right now to A&M, to Alabama, to Ohio State, they're losing by double digits. Is that defense that improved that's going to be able to handle it? I don't think so.
Until they prove you the other way. But you got to give them an opportunity.
They have to show me.
Right. I agree.
We'll see. Like the Oregon game, they have to play Oregon. That's going to really tell me if this is a playoff contender.
Do
they have to play Oregon?
I don't think they do. I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll see. If they have to play Oregon, I'm not sure what the rest is. I know if they play UCLA, I'm not really going to worry about that because, look.
And they have Iowa next week.
So Iowa will one thing, but the UCLA game they have to play, I'm not really worried about because UCLA, it is what
I don't think they have Oregon.
The shininess is over. It's a unique situation. I think they actually might benefit with upsets later down the stretch where they can just quietly just sneak in. But out the top of the page, I wouldn't say they're a playoff team, but you know what? They could be that team and just, hey, we do our job. Other teams lose, and you got to put somebody in who has 2 losses, or and think, okay, we'll take the spot, and you go from there.
Because if you want to talk about money and eyeball viewership, you can put some really intriguing matchups with USC,
and that's where like you're kind of about 2 Big 12 team or 2 group of 5. Right. USC is an 11 seed because the number one's USC. It's a historic logo, and the Big 10 is going to say it's USC, and you get viewers in California, which
everything else is
it's a struggle.
Pretty much outside of a handful of teams, it's east of the Mason-Dixon.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have Mississippi. You're going to have Vegas. All people out on the West Coast watching Vegas and Oregon because Vegas is watching because sports bets. But it really won't really. California is already a very apathetic sports. Unless you're really, really great, nobody cares. So if no one from California is in the playoffs, they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm going to go out and surf or play golf.
Right. Or go to Lakers games.
Or go to Lakers games to see other movie stars.
Yep. All right, Fresh. Well, hey, that's my college football playoff ranking, folks. Make sure you check out Spinnable Sports because Fresh will drop his here. But if you want to know what I feel, tune in all year long as I will put every Sunday night when we do our wrap-up show or Sunday morning, I will put out my college football playoff rankings at this time. I don't go off of what the committee says. I just go off of my own standards there as well. Good time to engage with us there. It's really fun to talk to you guys in the comment section. Had a real good back and forth this past week here. So make sure to check this out. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Get notified every single time we drop a new episode. And we are moving towards Rivalry Week, which will be our biggest weekend of the year. It's a crazy, crazy week. I can't wait for that, but we got to get through week 12. We got to get through week 13, and both of those are going to be absolutely loaded. So special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this is possible. Like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcast from. Leave us that 5-star review because you guys know we are those 5-star prospects. Engage with us on social media, and that's all I got, Fresh, here.
Hit us up, folks. SpinnableSports.com, Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. Leave the comments. Give the feedback on X/Twitter at IR Confidence Pod. If you want the Irrational Confidence Podcast, at Spinnable Sports, at SS_2Fresh, at Haps as well. Come find us, hit us up, give us your thoughts, spread the word, especially our Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. We want all the volume and all the traffic we can get there. Well, college football season is the best time of all. We are getting better and better as we go forward in the playoff. Rivalry week, conference championship week, selections, Sunday. It just gets better and better. And until next time, everybody, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.